Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and tarot for the full moon in Libra. This full moon is on the 2nd of April, and it's a really special one. It kind of falls an interesting time of the year. It's kind of the precursor to a lot of the most intense astrology we're going to see because April is a bit rough, guys, due to all the Saturn conjunctions. Um, but it also has like a unique tie back to the Pisces new moon because there was a Venus square Jupiter, and this full moon features a Jupiter square to the full moon. So it creates a T square in the sky. And so it is a fascinating one. And I have mixed feelings about it. And it's also ruled by a domicile Venus. It's some of the better rulership than we've seen all year so far, because we are still pretty early on. And so, yeah, it's a really beautiful moment. Also, depending on time zone, of course, it is on Thursday, which is Jupiter Day. So there is like a synchronicity in here and a sense of abundance and luck that we haven't felt recently, especially with like the Jupiter retrograde. It is still at the retrograde degree. We haven't left it yet, but we're getting close. Um, but things are starting to progress while also this is the lead up to the new moon in Aries. It's going to be quite spicy. It's going to be conjunct Chiron. It's going to have the Mars Saturn conjunction as part of its rulership. So this is a really high energy moon. I really feel on like a psychic level the positiveness of this moment while recognizing how complicated the sky is currently. Also, I think Jupiter in Cancer has kind of brought up the kind of arguments around the Jupiterian archetype. Is it abundance? Is it luck? Is it expansion? Does it just magnify what it touches? And in this moment, I think about Ganesha, the Hindu god, and how, while a lot of people associate him with Mercury, I associate him with Jupiter. He's larger than life. He's fun. He has an element of the fantastical about him that goes beyond, for me, the scope of Mercury. Um, he is the remover of blockages and the opener of paths. And it feels very much in this very complicated moment that is an archetype that really aligns with Jupiter and Cancer. And also a reminder that sometimes the things that block us are the things that we are actively pursuing, are the things that we think we want, are the things that we are holding on to that are no longer meant for us, or that were never meant for us at all. And so in this moment, it is this kind of dichotomy and this, this kind of having to hold the fact that sometimes what is best for us is going to hurt us in the moment. Sometimes the loss of something is what is going to make things better, is what is going to bring an abundance. And it feels like Jupiter is clearing the way in this full moon for us to experience new things, new connections, more balance and equity in our relationships. But it hurts because we want to hold on to the old things so badly. And that's not necessarily right or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. But in order to move forward, we will have to release. We will have to let go. And that is the essence of this moment in astrology, is being able to release in order to attain the things that we have been so desperately manifesting and calling in. And what has been holding us back is probably very likely the thing that we think is the linchpin of our happiness, whether it's a person or a job or an idea or a dream that we just are holding on to with a death grip. And the truth is, if we can release it, whether it stays or not is not the point. If we can just release that thing and be like, whatever will be, will be. I just want my manifestations to come true. I just want a better future. I just want to have something I can hope in and believe in. If we can release it, I really truly think that this full moon is going to usher in a time frame for a lot of us of amazing growth and expansion, and also finding some really niche and beautiful things, whether it is a relationship that feels like it's impossible to find or happen, or a job that doesn't really exist because you're so unique, or a career or something that feels impossible. But if we can let go of that one thing that we are so desperately holding on to. And maybe, and I think some of us already have, we're just kind of in the breathless period between the release. But if we can accept that that was what we needed to let go of in order for stuff to start to flow our way, in order for things to shift, in order for us to shift our karma and our progression and our connections, especially when it comes to past lives, I do feel in this moon that is all possible. But it starts with us letting go. It starts with us releasing, which is very, full moon-esque. It also starts with us allowing this full moon to illuminate what has been going on and accepting things for as they are. I mentioned earlier that we have a T square in the sky, and the outlet for that T square is Capricorn. And so the answer to this moment is practical. Not practical in the sense of like logic and the day to day and the material, but practical in the sense of like, I must take action in order to beget action. Something I've also been hearing from Spirit is creating your own luck, creating your own opportunities. Um, it's not really about being self-made, but it's the fact that we will create these things and the universe will take it from there. But we have to start to build something, to create a framework in order for the universe to then come in and support and open access and bring people in. It's very much, if you want it, make it. If you need it, find it. And when you do, the universe is going to bless that experience and bless that thing. Which I think is really beautiful. We also have this Taurus domicile rulership over here with Venus. And, I've said this for a while now, but like, everything shouldn't be so hard. And especially if you're past your Saturn return, I don't really believe in doing things that make us uncomfortable in order to get something. Now, yeah, we're going to have to work and that's uncomfortable, but like putting yourself through unpleasant experiences, forcing yourself to do things that you hate in order to attain something, you're probably not going to get something aligned by doing things that don't feel aligned, right? If like the entire process sucks, you're probably not going to enjoy the thing when you get it because it will have an element of sucking. And there also might be some resentment in there because you're like, I did so much to get this damn thing, and now what? And so this is about finding fluidity and alignment within a really rocky, energetic time. I have, this is not exclusive to me, but the Mars Saturn conjunction in Aries is going to be earth shattering on a lot of levels. And so it doesn't really, it's pointless to waste time doing things you don't like, eating food you don't like, connecting with people you don't like, being out of alignment and out of harmony with your body. And obviously, we live in a system, I want to be clear, where the whole goal is to make us out of alignment with our body and to force us into discomfort. But part of taking the power back and part of resisting is saying, no, no, I will not participate like this. You make this process gross, I will not do the process. You force us into stuff and then we get nothing back. Well, I'm getting nothing back. I'm not going to do it. Um, it feels very childlike in a sense of like kids aren't going to do stuff they don't like. And so we're kind of being called to be like, I don't like it, I don't want it. That gross. I don't like it, give it to someone else. And while, like I said, it is a tense moment, when people are like, well, this isn't a good moon for that, and this isn't a good moon for this, there's never a good time for anything. To be absolutely honest, as an astrologer, there's always something in the sky fucking something up. And that's just how it is. And it feels very much in this moment that this full moon in Libra is like, what do you think is going to happen? It's all of a sudden going to get easier. Have you seen the world? No, you've got to go for what you want. And I've also seen a lot of people, and I'm not saying that this is a bad idea, who are like, I'm giving up all of these dreams because of the way the world is. And my response to that is not to the person saying it, because I understand where that's coming from, but to like the energy and the reasons in general is fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck giving up, hopes and dreams and things you desire. And yeah, maybe it does feel impossible, but in this moment, with the square to Jupiter, with Venus where it is, with Mars where it's about to be, Like, why would I let an unimaginative world created by cruel, soulless, honestly ugly men destroy the magic and beauty of my dreams? And yeah, maybe I can attain them. That's not the point. The point is that I am participating in the energy, believing that I deserve what I deserve, and going after what I deserve and getting those things. Um, I can tell I'm feeling very spicy today. So this moon in this moment is very much like F that. F the difficulty. F doing things I don't like. Screw the people who have ruined our planet. I refuse to participate in the limited, warped imagination that they have that is exploitative and cruel and sees literally everything but them and people who look like them as less than worthless. And so this moon is an opportunity to seize your dreams, to refuse to participate in hopelessness and apathy, which is what they want. And I'm not saying that you're wrong if you feel that way, that's fine. But I'm saying you're not going to win anything if you continue to live that way. Um, I'm so bad at names. I think it's Asada Shakur. And you don't have to want children for this to resonate, and I'm butchering this quote. She passed recently. She was a revolutionary who escaped the U.S. and went to Cuba. And she said that I will not let them murder my children before they are born, in my mind. And don't let them murder your dreams before they become reality. Don't let them kill off everything that is good and beautiful. And with that Mars Saturn conjunction, we're going to see them try to strangle the life out of everything that's left. And they're like speeding it up because they see the end coming. These people are not stupid. They hire psychics, they hire analysts, they know what they are doing, even if it's really dumb. So in this moon, it's a moment of resistance. It's also a moment, especially since it's so relationship based, of refusing to be in relationships where we are not valued, refusing to be in relationships where we are not met, refusing to participate in relational exploitation. A friend and I were talking about scaffolding in relationships, and a lot of femme presenting people and people born women um, end up doing this, where like you build a system that another person can participate in and they don't have to do any work. They're just kind of building off of what you're building. And if you stop scaffolding, then the relationship just falls apart. And in this moment, it's time to stop scaffolding. It's time to stop creating the absolute perfect environment for people to love you in. Because you're loving those hoes in a complete swamp. And if you can do it, so can they. So in this moment, it is time to remove the training wheels. It's also time to stop like dreaming small and being like, well, since this is not attainable, I'm going to manifest something that is. No, manifestation is about getting something that is impossible. It's about manifesting something that doesn't seem like it can be done, but you believe and want it to be true. And it is, because we live in multiple timelines, so it has to be possible in at least one of them. And we're trying to get ourselves into the one that we desire to experience. And so, yeah, in this moment, this 12-degree Libra full moon, it's about pushing back and being like, no, this is what I want. And it's been a theme with a couple of my clients where, the universe has kind of given them a really rough hand. I could be a part of the party. I am. That's why I'm their reader. And instead of accepting it, we've kind of discussed it and been like, screw it. I don't accept the terms and conditions. I don't want to live this way for the rest of my life. It doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect. No, life sucks. Just in general, it does. But we can believe in more, we can create better. And the reason we are forced into these systems is so that we don't think it's real, we don't think it can happen, so that those people can hog and hoard all of the energy and money and resources, while we sit here going, well, this is just the way it is, I can't get anything more. Like, no, you can. You just have to, do this to those guys. And so, yeah, in this moment, I encourage you to be. We're also functioning off of the final Jupiter. That day is also the final Jupiter Mercury trine, it is time to officially commit to your manifestations. It is time to believe in them. It is time to push them forward. So, what if they're impossible? Everything has been impossible until it has been done. And that's just how energy works. And that is just how life works. And for me, that is really what this full moon is saying. And like I said earlier, there's no good time. We're in a Jupiter square with the sun and the moon. However, taking a peek and looking at Capricorn, which is the sign for me of manifestation and being able to take things from the unknown into the known in a really physical, tangible way, that's the outlet. And so do the thing, commit to the thing, believe in the thing, because, you know, instead of viewing everything as impossible, if you can't view anything as positive, then view it as like, what's the harm in trying? What's the worst thing that can happen in this hellscape if I just believe in something beautiful and wonderful happening in spite of all of this? Because the other option is that it doesn't, and that really sucks. And so I encourage all of us to kind of pull ourselves up together in community with our friends, with our besties, with our lovers, with our families, and be like, hey, I'm not accepting this. I'm not participating docilely in the system. I'm not going to walk my ass to the butcher block and be like, hey, just, cut it off. Use me as fodder for your nasty little war machine. No, this is the time for us to believe in the impossible, to create the opportunities and the dreams and the desires that we have and bring them into the real world. And, a lot of people are like, well, Abigail, what if it doesn't happen? Then it just doesn't happen. And that's also okay. But I will tell you this, as someone who does magical work, you would be surprised how much does happen and how much can happen when you believe, when you release what you can see and what seems real and impossible and believe in the energy and focus on what you can do. Yes, yes. Whoa. All right. Nice. Of course, of course, of course. All right, love this. Me being like, manifest, and we just get a bunch of pentacles. So we start off with the King of Honey in this deck. That is the Pentacle suit. This is the King of Pentacles. Yes, it is time to claim. It is time to believe. It is time to move forward in power with your innate tools, your innate gifting, with your belief in what can and cannot be, knowing that multiple things can be true at once. The world can be a nightmare. It can be a wreck. We can be heading towards probably the worst economic crash we've ever seen, and we can still find a way to move forward. We can find a way to create our own abundance. We can find a way to collectively care and take our own power back from these systems that want us to feel helpless and alone. And I mean, I do feel helpless and alone, so I'm not saying that's not legitimate, but we also have to be a bit delusional, and we have to believe in something better, or we will just fall apart. We will just collapse. And while we will all collapse at some point and feel hopeless and desperate, we also need to get back up, because that's kind of how this works. Reminds me, I used to, ride horses, and the rule is like, if you get thrown, you get back on. Because if you don't get back on after you've been thrown, you're never gonna get back on again. And that's kind of the feeling. It's like, you can get thrown and you can get hurt and you can be worried about it and upset, but you do got to get back on at some point. And this full moon is like, hey, buckle up, have some wild dreams, because we're about to get into it. And then we have the Four of Honey. This isn't detached from reality. This isn't, I'm not telling you like that none of your physical circumstances matter, because they do. I'm disabled. I don't know if I'm going to make it as things continue to go south, but I know that I'm going to believe that I can do what I can do. And I also believe in luck. And I also believe that life improving for me requires my participation, and it requires my hope, even on the days when I don't feel hopeful. And with this Four of Pentacles, it's understanding what resources you have. So like how far you can push the delulu and how far you can't. And also recognizing that, the the mistake of believing that only physical things are currency is a pitfall that we have to be careful of. Energy is currency, psychic gifting is currency, your ability to love is currency. And so don't forget, when you're adding up the equation of like pursuing your dreams, that there are innate gifts that capitalism is never going to take into consideration or let you believe that they've taken into consideration. Because when they do marketing, when they sell things to you, they're absolutely taking in your capacity to care. But they want to pretend it doesn't matter and it's not something you can make money on. We have the Knight of Honey. We do have to work. We do have to labor. We do have to continue. We have to press forward. Um, this is still, slow and steady wins the race, even though I will say I've kind of started to see this is I do feel like there's a quickening coming with a lot of the folks that I've been working with and a lot of people that I know who have been putting in the work. If you have been putting in the work, if you have been aware for a little bit, let's say a year plus, and you've been manifesting, things are going to start to pick up. Reggie, hey, no, sweetie, my little dog. He's very brave. Someone's in the hall. So, you know, the fruits of Reggie, hey, come here. Good boy. Reggie. Sorry. He's feeling neglected. And when he feels neglected, he likes to make noise. Anyways, oh, and now they're running the vacuum. Great. Well, we're going to finish this. Hopefully the vacuum doesn't bleed into the microphone. But, if you have been putting in the work, if you have been manifesting for any like substantial period of time, it does feel as though things are getting moving, partially because we have our only major arcana, which is the Magician. There is an ability to transform and to transmute and to bring things forward and to create stuff in this moment in impossible circumstances where we don't see how things are going to work out. And a part of this is us literally putting one foot in front of the other, moving forward, listening to messages from spirit, pulling hope from other places. I know that sometimes a lot of like online card readings can be like overtly hopeful and not really take into consideration like the difficulties people are facing. But I find that there is benefit in listening to purely hopeful content, as long as you can balance it out in your brain and understand that like not everything is going to come true in the sense in like the exact way it's said. There is some benefit in listening to purely positive language, purely positive messages, purely positive psychic frequencies to help kind of keep the energy up, to help, to help yourself feel good. There's benefit to doing that, even if it feels hopeless. And so, yeah, listen to some Delulu tarot content, listen to some delusional psychic content. I've actually kind of been called, I don't think it's delusional, but I've been doing some wax readings and they do tend to be more positive, and the spirits who work with the candle wax are like highly excitable. It's fire energy. So they're highly excitable and they love to connect with the energy. And so, raise your frequency that way. And I don't believe in like high frequency, low frequency, but I do believe in the ability to like bring your frequency up to help you feel better, to help you keep going, to help you have a place where you can find hope. And we have the Three of Songs. This moon is about connecting to others. It's about rebalancing relationships. It's about recognizing where relationships are sucking the life out of us, and us being able to have like healthy conversations about it with people, and us being able to like find a middle ground. And if we can't find the middle ground, then that square with Jupiter is like, yeet, bye. Also, like I said, we have that trine with Jupiter and Mercury that was functioning during the Mercury retrograde. So if there's some people you haven't released and you still are connected and they're not bringing good things into your life, this is also the moment of letting them go. I think the results, I'm gonna pull a few more cards. The results of this full moon are going to be a mixed bag depending on where you are in your journey. For some of you, it is going to be liberating and kind of like the final like period on a very long story that you've been going through. For some of you, this is a midway point where you're going to be releasing a lot of things and going through a lot of grief over that release. And for some of you, this is the start of a whole new journey. And so recognize where you are and allow that to be what it is. Allow it to exist and function. Oh, how sweet. Mm. I love it when the cards are so lovely. We have the Page of Songs, which is the cups suit in this deck. Um, yeah, there's an element of like emotional honesty and belief and hope. In the traditional deck, he has like a cup with a fish in it that is really silly, goofy. And so there's an element of like being silly and being funny and like really digging into those little moments. And then we have the Ten of Songs and the Chariot. This is a journey towards the things we've been desiring. This is a journey towards us waking up and connecting to ourselves in a deeper way and believing in brighter and better things and believing in the power of our psychic gifts and our emotional connections and the love that we have to share. Whether we have a place to fully put it in this moment or not, we are manifesting that place. And then we have the Chariot, which very much speaks of Cancer, where Jupiter is in this square moment. And squares are also a midway point. They are halfway through a journey. And so, recognize where you are on the journey and recognize where you're going. This is also a really great moment to clarify what you want and to be really honest. Don't sit there in like the space of creativity and shame this little guy and shame this little being who just wants to be loved and held and to have enough money to feed themselves and to go on vacations. Don't shame them for like wanting something impossible. Be like, you know what? This child part of myself that just has raw desire, you go. We're going to pursue what you want. We're going to go through with this authentically. We are going to find a way to figure this out. We are going to MacGyver our manifestations into a future we deserve, regardless of what's going on. So yeah, it's really beautiful. We do have Two of Dreams, which is very much like we are at a crossroads of making certain choices. But make the choice that is most aligned with you, regardless of what the like most possible foreseeable outlook is. If you take like how many people fail at something and like how many people succeed, the outlet, the like likelihood is failure, but not for you, not today. You have to, very Four of Pentacles, see what is possible, see what a likely outcome is, and be like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to go for what I want. I'm going to magician this shit. So, my loves, that is what I have for you for the full moon in Libra. Allow yourself to be where you're at. It's not going to be all gung ho, even though I'm feeling that way as I'm recording this. I recognize that a lot of grief and sadness is going to well up as we release some old dreams and old people and relationships and just recognize that, they were either what they were for a time or they just were never what we thought they were. And that's hard. But I do truly believe that, yeah, then we have the moon. I do truly believe that there is a really unique magic in this moment. And yeah, Two of Wands or skins in this deck, there is some really beautiful manifesting power in this moon. And it may not feel like it. You're going to see some hard realities in this moment, but you deserve better. And the world deserves better. And that's what we're going to need to focus on in this moment. Cry, be upset. I really do encourage like moving if you're doing ritual work or something to kind of, raise the energy or get the ick out of your body, whatever you need to do. But manifest what you want on this full moon. Release what you don't. I think some of you are also going to realize that something you've been pursuing is just not actually what you want, and that's fine. You don't need to hold on to a dream till the bitter end. That's actually also a capitalist thing of being like, it sucks and you want it, go for it, never give up. Because that's how they get us on like a little hamster wheel of desperation. You can leave a dream at any point. You can leave a dream that's working out just because it doesn't fulfill you anymore. So yeah, dig in, be bold, Be the King of Pentacles. Recognize that everyone is fallible, recognize not everything happens, and that there's often, kind of speaking of Ganesha and like how some of our blocks are the things that we think hold our abundance. Some of those things are passing away, but you're going to find out that there's a lot better on the other side. And yeah, I'm not going to pretend that April's not going to be rough astrologically, because it is. But this is the time to harness your own power. This is the time to MacGyver your own destiny. And this is the time to be like, hey, I know that, I have a lot of, there's a lot of predestination in here, but anything that's not is free game for me to create the world that I deserve. And this is how we fight back. This is how we get the world that we deserve. This is how we get what we want, even if we don't get to see it in our lifetime. And that is what is truly valuable and what we all truly deserve. Anyways, I'll stop yapping. I love you all. I wish you a blessed full moon in Libra, and I will see you all later.